Hello, boys and girls. It's Blind here in the dark with Morgan. Sorry for the delay on this. Totally my fault. But Morgan is here. We're ready to record the video. You were actually nicer than I expected you in DMs. I almost expected a when content every 15 minutes from you, when record content or something. Um,
Look,
but
I
but we
can be
made it.
rude.
No, it's okay. We made it. We're friends still. Um, so on the clock at 105, and we were talking a bit before this where it gets a little bit fuzzy, kind of at 105, but you are confident and happy with your pick here. So let's play the sound and do the thing. Da, 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 da. All right, go ahead. Who we got at 105, Morgan?
I mean, I think you have to go Jaden Daniels here, so that's who I'm gonna go with.
So Jaden Daniels here, 105, joins a good quarterback room. And you said something that I think is so I agree. So you said a sentence that was interesting earlier, and I agree with half of it. And I don't know enough about rookies with all my picks in none of my leagues this year to dispute the other half. You said you think he has the highest ceiling of any of the quarterbacks, and you will not touch a Bears quarterback to save your life. And that's not even a you're a Packers fan thing, right? That's just a the Bears suck thing.
I mean, they're terrible. Never had a 4,000 yard passer, never had a passer for more than 30 touchdowns in a season.
Right.
I mean, that's just historical terribleness. I get the hype and all that stuff, but there's just something, like the late, he's not late, but the great Jim McMahon said, Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die.
Right.
So he's off my board. Drake May, bust city. So I was super happy that he's off the board because that opens up Jaden Daniels, who I watched about uh, five highlights of, and I'm like, okay, I'll go with him.
So you said Caleb Williams is off your board. I mean, you're saying like there's if somehow he fell to 105, there's no way that you would have even gone with him here. You would have been trying to trade back or something like that instead.
Oh yeah, I'd have traded back with how much he's hyped for. Yeah, I would have been able to get anything else. I just, I don't want to touch that because and granted, Packers fan, so a little bit biased here, but I've
Sure.
seen just a lot of shit, just a lot of awful quarterback play,
Yeah.
and there's no way they're gonna figure it out.
I think it's one of the things where if they ruin him, then they really have no hope. Like it's they should just kind of give up and move on as a team and just like relocate or something. But it's 120 some years or 100 some years of it, and to just have the poor success that they've had, it's scary. When Jay Cutler is one of your most recent success stories, I think that you've got a problem. To keep it nice and short and sweet. So um, Daniels joins a quarterback room that's not in a bad spot, not in the greatest spot in the world either, I would say, but not a bad spot. So Trevor Lawrence, your QB1, you upgraded this offseason to get Baker. Where do you kind of imagine Daniels in your roster? Do you think he's going to, we talked to Chase yesterday, and Chase mentioned that he can let May kind of sit and hang out and develop. Do you see that happening similarly for you with Daniels? Obviously we can't predict what's going to happen, but do you see him kind of sitting behind Baker and T Law? Do you think he's kind of pushing Baker for QB2 starts? Where's your mindset at early on in this process?
We'll see how it starts. I think the important thing to for me to realize is that I mean I feel like I have to go Baker Mayfield right away,
Right.
and we'll kind of see like how does he do, which has bitten me in the butt because I don't think I started Puka week one, and he
Right.
and he went off, but he was in the middle of nowhere. But um, I think and we'll see how camp rolls because if Jaden Daniels comes out and just starts torching up defenses and he's running all over the place and he's throwing touchdowns, then he's going to make a case for it. Um, where I'm just going to have to gamble that. But I feel comfortable in my room that I'm not pigeonholed now where I
Yeah, you're
have
not
to start
stuck.
these two guys
Right.
and then scramble bye week who's going to be even playing that week.
Right. It also doesn't help. Obviously, the NFL schedule's not out. Or did it come out? It just I think it comes out tomorrow night. Um, so that would suck if both your quarterbacks are on bye at once, and it's almost like cool lost this week. Um, So now that you've got Daniels, it kind of gives you some flexibility there. Um, I want to go back to touching on Drake May. So for those of you playing along at home and keeping score, which I'm pretty sure you probably are, um, when you made your pick last year at whatever pick it was, you mentioned Quentin Johnston having bust written all over him. Did not look good year one whatsoever. Um, and we kind of asked K Migs or Coed about that. Do you take any value in, um, you're the only one here who actually coaches football and does the X's and O's, whereas all of us are fans. And you're saying Drake May's a bust as well. Do you think you're going to kind of go 2 for 2 on that prediction? Obviously, we still have to see what QJ does, right? But so far, you're pretty spot on with that. You're saying you think Drake May's a bust. Um, where does that come from for you?
And granted, I haven't watched as much film as I did on Quentin Johnston, um, so that's it's coming from that. But I've read some stuff about him where he's got some accuracy issues, and I think some of that can be fixed at the NFL level.
Right.
I don't trust him to not be just slaughtered in New England.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to be fed to the wolves, and it's going to be bad, and he's going to get ruined. So it's not necessarily just a straight up knock on him, though. I do think he's got a lot more work, from what I've read, that than other people may realize.
Right.
Those accuracy issues. I mean, they get you in the ass in the NFL because you're not dealing with wide receivers that are open by 5 yards. You're dealing with wide receivers that are open by 2 steps, and that's it. And that's just not, I don't, if you have accuracy issues, that's going to be tough to come back from,
Right.
so, and you're going into probably the worst situation. At least a guy like Jaden Daniels, he's got Terry McLaurin to throw to. He's got Eckler out of the backfield.
Right.
He's got Brian Robinson, who I know isn't like super explosive,
No, but he's a
but he
thumper.
did catch 36 passes for over 300 yards this year. So he's got some guys out of the backfield that, oh shit, it's all breaking down. I can, dump off to these guys. And I don't know if Ramondre Stevenson is that guy in New England, but I just feel like he's got nothing. He's got nothing around him.
Do you have any fear? You kind of mentioned you think he's going to get run down in New England. You kind of mentioned the Chicago Bears not being the best, organization almost. Do you have any fear of, the Washington Commanders kind of having that mantra as well? Obviously, they new ownership and all that type of stuff, but and they've got who's assuredly, I don't know what word I'm trying to use here, but they pick someone who they think is going to be their guy. Any nervousness for either of those situations to happen too, or is that not even on a radar of yours?
The thing I'm worried about, and it goes to I've had I the first year I ever played fantasy football, it was an auction draft,
Mm,
and I got RG3 with the almost the last pick in the draft, and I got him for $1 in an
nice.
auction league his rookie year. And then obviously he blows out his knee. I can't remember what year, third year, second year, whatever.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal that rookie year. Sam Howell. I'm basically married to the Washington franchise with my quarterbacks in the history of my time. But um, I'm worried, as I think you have to be, about him getting hit a lot running
Right.
the ball. I mean, it's fine and dandy. You see it with Lamar Jackson, and I guess I haven't looked at their stats to see who's better build, so who can take a punishment. But there's times where I see him take a shot in the back. I watched Dallas Turner run him down and just level him, and I'm thinking, man, Dallas Turner's real good. Got taken in the first round. One of those top edge rushers in the draft. But there's going to be guys that are going to be able to do that pretty routinely against you in the NFL.
Right.
You know, so that's the part. Does he have that durability?
Yeah, I actually remember. I remember I was at work, and I used to work at a gym, and I remember having the TV on where it was the Redskins playoff game when RG3 like really hurt his knee bad, and I remember watching him like fall. Like I remember the snap at him like hurting his knee and like falling forward, and I think he fumbled. And I remember that was like the only time I'd ever felt bad for a franchise in my division, just because I really liked what he was doing, and seeing him in the playoff game. I think it was against Seattle, just kind of go down like that sucked. So, um, but yeah, it was. I could see something similar. But to your point, The NFL, it's different in the NFL with the guys that hit you. You have these smaller receivers in college, and it's like, yeah, that was all well and good until you're getting smacked around by some of these corners and safeties that do not fucking mess around. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that happens. Let's dive into your roster a little bit more here. Obviously, joins a roster that's built very distinctly, I think, from the rest of the league. You've got players on multiple years contracts. We pulled this up yesterday too. I mean, you look at the depth and the team building here versus a team. I think mine is the staunch opposite, right? Where very short 1 or 2 year contracts versus a team that's built out. Um, he's another guy. We haven't talked length of the deal yet, and we'll get there. But I'm sure he's another guy who you're adding on for a long time. You've got a lot of 4th round picks this year. Has your team building plan gone as successfully as you want to? You've got a couple dead cap hits here and there, right? But two, you know, two. Do you think it's worth it, kind of rolling the dice? And sure, you've got $8 in dead cap this year and next year, but to have a team as flushed as yours, to have people on your team that could do something, like obviously Puka is doing more. Tajee Spears is on a cheap deal when people are thinking he might be a thing. Wicks is on your team and he's on a cheap deal and looks good. Kraft is on your team and looks like he could do well. You've got other people on your team. Was it A.T. Perry? I remember you told me about him when I reached out to you for advice on who to pick in a 32-man league with like a random pick I had, and you were like, hey, Perry. And he is almost poised for a breakout if Michael Thomas isn't there anymore, right? So are you happy with how your team has been built out? There's no superstar in here, but man, you have more depth than anybody. Where's your headspace at with this?
Yeah, the nice part about this, right, is a lot of those 4th round picks didn't hit. I'm looking at that kind of stuff a little bit, but they're 4th round picks, and not a lot of them are going to hit.
Right.
Um, I'm happy with the fact that I continue to get 4th round picks, right, because I can cut a guy who just isn't it. And it's a two. Uh, it's two on your cap. For say you sign him for, if I sign him to 1 year deals, it's nothing. It's free because he's under five
Right.
dollars. I'm going to sign him to 3 year because they're so dang cheap, and it protects guys like Puka where I don't need to worry about it. Um, so I have liked that because the way you guys throw out 4th round picks like they're worth nothing, man, they aren't worth nothing when they get cut. So it's like, to your cap hit, you can sit here and just reload on guys, and I like that. And I like the idea that I can reload and make these cuts and hopefully make some guys, expendable to cut. It's put me tight up against the cap. I think after this draft, I'll be at like 6 or 7 cap space,
Right.
and we'll see. But we'll cut some of those guys that don't make it, that just suck, that don't turn out, and I'll have a little bit of extra cap going into the season. So it's nice because I feel like this is a model where I don't have to revamp my roster like some of these guys do, where it's like, oh my God, I have to get out of this contract, that contract, this contract. And well, how in the hell do I even figure out how to, rework
Right.
my roster to be competitive? I feel like my roster is set up in a way that can be competitive year in and year out. Now, we'll see if that works out. I think it should be no. I think I'll seal whoever did it, Allen or whatever. I think mine is clearly the favorite roster in the division.
So that's actually the next question I have. Yeah. So you mentioned $421 for next year, unincluding anything from this draft, with 19 players on your roster. You look at the breakdown page. I would assume it's the most on your roster in 25. So 10, 19, 6, and 5, 12, 8, 15, 11, 6, 10, 5, 13. So you have the most players rostered already for 2025. With the draft picks projected, you have the most players rostered. Top 5, top 3, top 4. Where are we at? 354, 1, 2, 3. So 4th highest cap room, most players rostered. Pretty nice combination. When you think about your division, you think you're the favorite this year?
I don't think you can argue. Like now, listen, week to week, you put, some of their, like, they line up their roster against my roster, they might be able to beat me,
Mhm.
5 out of 5 times, 50-50. I think that's about the best you're going to get. But you go the whole season, and I think you're going to start to see, I'm looking at guys that don't even have, they're missing a flex spot, they're missing a quarterback spot in my division, and they got 3 guys on their bench. So it's like, okay, even if you fill that out, you got one guy on your bench, and you got what, 50 cap left.
Right.
What are you going to have, left once get into the season when a couple guys get hurt? Are you even going to be able to field an actual roster? So that's kind of the thing. My team's built to be able to make it. Granted, I got a lot of crap that's not going to turn out. There's already guys that I'm trying to ship away for nothing, and maybe they hit for somebody else, and maybe they don't. But I feel like I have the depth, to be able to eat some of these, injuries that are going to happen to, everybody.
Right. When it comes to the trades, how did you move up from 111 to 108? So it sounds like Alan sent the deal initially because it got accepted in the chat, he was like, "Oh, he accepted." Did that just pop in your inbox and you smashed accept? I think I prefer the 108 side of that deal more than I prefer. What was it, a third and 111 for 108 or a second or something like that? I can't remember specifically, but
It was a second round pick. Might have been this year or next year. I can't remember. Um, but the initial offer I had was to move up, and I gave him like 2 or 3/4, and I was like, I could upgrade this, because that's kind of the way I deal. And I get that, like, there's some fantasy people that will like hold your feet to the fire and be like, this is the most I can do, and you got to like,
yeah,
threaten to kill their
band.
family to get them to move up just a
Right.
little bit. Um, so I play my cards pretty much on the table. Like, hey, this is what I'm willing to do. This is kind of the most I'll go. And I didn't even throw out the second round pick. He put it out there, and you know what? I'm like, I think that's fair. You know, I think it's a fair move up, a second round pick to move up that. And it's next year, so
Yep.
you can say there's not much value, but it's I think there's just a lot of value to that. I like both sides, especially if you don't think you can fully flesh out a roster this year, getting a pick next year could help you. And you're in a tier where it's just slightly cheaper to pick at 111 than 108, I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
But I
it
might
is.
be
It is. Yeah,
full of
you're right.
smoke.
It is a tick down. 2025 second. It's K meg second, so you would assume playoff second. Um, so, I mean, I'm happy to send a late second next year to move up 3 spots and kind of get in that top tier, I think. So, I do like it for both sides. I think I lean your way, but I do like it for both sides. So, um, we'll have to see how it goes. Um, any ideas there? Are you looking to move up to 106 with the project or 107? Who's 107? Is it Chase? Probably. That's my fucking best guess. Are you looking to move up again, or are you kind of happy with whatever falls to you there? Um,
We'll see. We'll see what happens here. Um, I might reach out to Project. I don't know. I traded him the 106, so that'd be kind of funny if I got that back. I mean, we'll see. You never know. There's a couple guys I like here. So, the way I view my drafting is if I got, like people ask me about the 105 and they're like, hey, you're thinking about moving out, or do you want to move up? Like, is there a guy you want? And the way I viewed it is I'm like, man, there's 3 picks, 2 picks, whatever it is until 5. And I got 3 guys I like. So
yeah,
if I
I'm
just end up
happy.
with one of them and not have to pay for it, I'm fine with that.
Right. That was going to be the other question. So I know that Rick talked about you sent him 4/4, I think, to move up to 101, and he's countered back your entire team. Was there any interest to go to 101 at all, or was that you just kind of fucking around? And then same thing, Chase kind of mentioned he was talking with you about 104, but it sounded like he initiated it. You were, when he sent you that offer, or however that went, you were like, no thanks, I'm good here.
Yeah, well, the Rick one, I sent him just joke offers all the time, and I think he put in the chat like, send me your trade offers now if you want the 101. So I was just like, well, here's what
Well,
I'll
there
give
are.
you.
Yeah.
Um, so that was that piece. The Chase stuff just didn't, go. It was the Chase thing. He was looking to sell me 104, and he gets 105, and I pay, move up. And he wasn't sending anything out of the ballpark. It wasn't
Right.
like wholly overpay or anything like that. It was fair value. But I'm sitting here thinking, man, there's three guys I like. So if I end up with the one guy, at the end, I'm happy.
Whatever.
There's
Yeah.
three guys I'd take there.
Yeah.
So
Who were those three? Are they all taken by now? Was it? Well, I guess it wasn't May. Do you want to share who your third one and your second one were, or do you want to keep that to yourself in case they make it to 108?
we'll see. Who I got in mind here. Because they might make it to 108. We'll see. Um, you know,
Fair.
so that's a part there, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe at the end of the first round, I can put in the chat my thoughts. But
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. I don't. You don't want to tip your hand and then get held hostage at 107 because it is Chase at 107. It is Project at 106. Before it goes back to you 108. 109, 110 is Flynn, Allen at 11, K-Migs at 12, and then you again at 113. So 3 first-round picks, plus you're happy with your team. It is an exciting year to be a Webster Tigers fan. Last two questions I really have for you before we wrap this up. I've been asking everybody about rivalries. Do you view anybody in the league as a rival of yours or someone that you look to as a rival by any chance?
well, Texas sucks. Just as a state, a
I knew it
place,
was gonna.
a
I knew it was gonna
people.
come up.
Um, so that's just pretty obvious. And I think if you don't admit that, you are really sub-intelligent. You should really be in the special ed room. Is all I'm saying. Is I should walk down that wing of the school and I should see a guy like Cam sitting there trying to fit the blocks in the wrong holes. Um, so there's that one. Otherwise, my rival is who I'm playing that week. You know what? I'm going to talk trash to him as much as I can. Some of these guys, they take it better than others. Some of them play into it a little bit more. I
Sure.
appreciate that Cam plays into it. I can't wait to see what he says to me when he does his interview. I don't think you can say anything bad about Wisconsin. And he can't really say anything bad about the Packers because we kind of own the Cowboys. That
Oh yeah,
D
brother.
just kind of transferred.
Well, good. I'm glad they do. Um, any final thoughts? Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
Ah, it's going to be an A.T. Perry breakout season. I'm calling it right now.
I would love to see it. I think Michael Thomas is dead weight at this point. They tried for years, and it's just not anymore. Who's the number three? He's the number 3 receiver, right? I guess, unless Michael Thomas exists.
Yeah, but he's the outside receiver, so he'd be on the field almost always because
Yeah.
he's 6'5", so you're putting him on the outside, and you're putting Rashid Shaheed in the slot. And Rashid Shaheed, I love him. I think he's a decent player.
Yeah.
I had him, and I was sad to see him go. But I think A.T. Perry, he gets that breakout role on the outside. He showed this year he's explosive. He caught like
Had a
last
couple good
four
ones. Yeah.
games of the season, he got like 183 yards and like 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
would be another cheap contract on your thing. Him and Puka signed the same years and deal and cost 5 years this year, $6 next year. $5 this year, $6 next year would be nice. Have another receiver like that, I'm sure, on a cheap contract. That's good. Um, that does it for us. Again, Project soon. I don't know if Project's been seeing these videos or knows how we do it. So there might be a bit of a delay on the Project video, but I'll get with him and we'll go from there. But Morgan, thanks for the time. We'll see you guys soon for 106.
awesome. Yeah, see ya.